Hey folks, welcome back to our channel. My name is Nigel and this is Offgrid Van Life, where we look at van conversions, Offgrid Power, lithium iron phosphate batteries and everything in between. Basically, we want to help you to convert or upgrade your van to be able to get on the road and find adventure, and most importantly to have a really good electrical system that you can power your van to run whatever you need, whether that's an espresso machine, induction cooktop or anything in between. If you've been following our channel for a while, you'll know that we have a series where we're converting this Nissan NV400 medium wheelbase van, and we put out a video every Sunday. And in the last video, so last week, I started the process of actually spraying the insulation kit. So this is the kit that I was using. So it's the froth pack dew point. So this is the 180 pack. So 180 is the square footage that it covers if you spray 1 inch or 25 millimeters. So 180 square feet at 25 millimeters thick or 1 inch thick. Now, ran into a bit of a problem last week in that this red canister here is the setting agent or the resin, and then this blue canister here is the actual foam. Now, I ran into a problem last week in that the setting agent finished way faster than the foam. So I still have quite a lot of content in this foam canister here. Now, I got in touch with the company that I bought it from, and they're not entirely sure why that happened. It shouldn't happen. They should be fairly close. They should produce the sort of similar amount of content and be matched. And there are a couple of reasons that it could have happened. So one is maybe this was not actually filled correctly and that it was not as full as it should have been. That's the one option. The other option is temperature could have an effect on it. So if it was used in too cold a temperature, the person that sold it to me said that it's possible that this canister could deplete faster than this, just because the setting agent or the resin is more of a liquid content, so it's more viscous, so it gets out of the canister and down the pipe faster than this in cold temperatures. That's why the temperature is so important with this foam. So they've said that it's possible that the foam part of it, if it was used when it was too cold or whatever, it's possible that the foam maybe didn't release out of the canister fast enough to be able to match the resin, and that could be why there's a mismatch. So I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I didn't get into an argument with them or anything. They were very helpful. And obviously I don't want to be finger pointing and all that sort of stuff, but I was fairly careful with the temperature. So in the last video you would have seen I had these, I can't remember if I showed it or not, but I had these inside a box with an oil heater that I heated them up to over 25 degrees Celsius inside this box. And so when I checked the temperatures of and it had been in there for hours, so I'm talking like probably 8 or 12 hours that it had been inside this box heating up. So it's not like I just chucked it in just for an hour and the contents of inside the canisters hadn't heated up. I'm pretty confident that the contents inside were at the right temperature. I then had heated the internal of the van with a fan heater. So I had been running a fan heater for some time and got the inside of the van up to sort of around 20 degrees. When I checked the surface temperatures of all of the walls and stuff, they were at sort of 17 degrees thereabouts. So I'm pretty confident that I had the temperatures right, but you just never know with these things. So I'm going to take some so essentially what I've done now is that I bought a second kit because I'm down this road now. I've already sprayed quite a lot of the van, more than half the van. I'm down the road already. I don't want to be changing halfway through and using another form of insulation. I'm pretty happy with with the performance so far. And so I don't want to be changing halfway through. So I bought another kit and I'm going to be going with that and finishing up. I'm just going to take a couple more precautions. So where last time I put the canisters into a box to heat them up beforehand to get them to the right temperature, this time what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to store them inside the box with the heater while I'm using them. So last time I put them in the box beforehand. Once they were at temperature when I started using them, I took them out and put them in here with the doors closed and with the heater on. And that's how I used them and sprayed them. So they shouldn't have lost that much temperature that fast, but next time I'm going to leave them inside the box while I do that process. And obviously make sure that the inside temperature of the van, etc., is at the right temperature, like I did last time. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I've got another kit coming. The only thing is the battle of trying to get stuff to Northern Ireland. So I ordered the kit a week ago and I'm still waiting for it to arrive, and it may arrive in time for the next video, but I don't know. It's been a bit of a drawn out process. That's the one thing about this. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to have really good results from this when it comes to being done. But in hindsight, the biggest challenge that I've had actually is more just getting the product to Northern Ireland, because there's no one here locally that sells it, so I have to ship it from England. And that has been a pain. Literally each time it's like taken over a week to get here, which then means that I've had to wait for 2 kits. So that's like nearly a month just in waiting from when I ordered the product. And so yeah, that's been a bit of a pain, but we'll get there eventually. But one of the things that I thought I would cover as well, so one of the questions that immediately came to mind when I was talking to the company that I bought this from was, if there was an issue in the mixing process. So let's say this canister emptied too fast and the ratio was wrong, what could that do? And the person said to me, well, that is a concern, and I'll demonstrate in a bit, but if you spray just the foam without the setting agent, then it's just this horrible gloopy stuff that just wilts and is just a pain to work with. Never sets, doesn't have any insulation properties, no waterproof properties, stays sort of wet and moist, and it's no good. And equally, if you have too much of this, it then can be very crumbly and doesn't have much insulation properties, is not waterproof, is not sort of sealed. So one of the reasons why people like this form of insulation is that it effectively creates a vapor barrier because it's a closed cell foam. So it's pretty much waterproof and doesn't let any air through or anything like that. And so from that point of view, if you have too much resin, then it becomes crumbly and just doesn't have the right properties to be able to perform like it's supposed to. And so obviously my immediate thought was, well, if the ratios are wrong, do I need to rip everything out and redo it? And his response was that you would know very quickly if they are wrong. So essentially, if you go to push your finger in, if it just crumbles underneath your finger and becomes powder, then there's something wrong with that. And equally, if it's not set and it's sort of liquidy and gloopy and stuff, then that's not set and that's not right. But if it is solid, is sort of hard, or at least sort of hard sponge to the touch and feels good, then it's fine. Then there's no problem with it. And so for the most part, there's only 2 places really where I have an issue, and I'll show you now, but it's essentially where I started and then where I finished. So where I started, obviously it was just pouring out the resin when I first started, and so that first section needs to be redone. And then when I finished, when it was just spraying the foam and no more resin, that is very gloopy and exactly as he described. So obviously I'll need to redo that section, but I'm talking they're very small sections. For the most part, everywhere else that I foamed is looking very solid. So I'm going to take you around the van and show you what I mean by that. Okay, so here is some examples of how it looks, just so that you can get a feel for what it looks like and everything. So this is what it should look like. So when you look at this, when I push in on that, you can see all of the background stuff moving with that, and it's pretty solid. I mean, there's no crumbling here. It's just solid, sort of spongy, like a hard sponge. And obviously, because it's closed cell foam, this is all now completely sealed. So pretty much across this whole thing here, that's a vapor barrier and insulation. And so I'm very happy with how this is looking. And this is, for the most part, how it looks throughout the van. So if we look like in this cavity here, it's the same. If I push on that, it's sort of spongy, foamy, exactly as I want it, solid, looking super good. And the same, here's another example. So these walls here turned out really good. So when I push into that, it's not crumbly at all. So very happy with that. That's how it should look and how it should perform, right? It's looking great. Now here is where I first started, where the ratios clearly were not right. And this is what the guy said, kind of as an idea of if there is a problem, is if it does this, where when you push on it, it just crumbles into like a powder, then that's not correct. Obviously, you don't want doing that. So obviously all of this is going to have to be removed. And then I will redo this when I get the new kit. But that's not what you want. If you have that, then there's a problem with the ratios. But in comparison, right next to it over here, this is solid. This is looking great. This is exactly what you want. Nice and sealed. It's all expanded, completely sealed it off, vapor barrier, and good insulation. And this is a good stretch here at the low points here, probably 25 mil, so an inch. So that's the equivalent of like 50 mil Celotex or Kingspan. So very happy with how that worked out. And this is where I got to where the resin had started to run out. So as you can see here, this is very sticky. It has not set. This is just the foam that's sort of stuck here and not done anything. Got these dangly bits that sort of keep falling off. Around it, there's some good stuff. So like there, and obviously on this side here, it's looking pretty good on there. But obviously this is section's gonna have to be redone. But to put that into sort of context of how much has gone wrong, basically half this panel here, that section, and just that little section there, that bit there. Otherwise, all of that down there, all up the side there, above there, most of the roof, all the way back to this back panel here, all of that stuff is good. Up there is good. So really there's not a lot that I have to go over. It's just really the start and the end, where I had these two issues that I faced. But once I get the new kit, we should be sweet. And then obviously there's just these back sections here, down around these back windows, around the wheel arches. And then that little section there where we ended, and then that little section there where we started. But otherwise, everywhere else, it's looking great. And then I thought I would show you the outside as well. It's a bit dirty, but this is the driver's side. So we've done the whole bottom of this panel here under this window. And you often see people saying things like, oh, it distorts the outside of your van and stuff like that. And yes, the stuff does get fairly warm to the touch when you're applying it. But I've had no problems with it distorting the side of the van. So if you look at even the top here, it's been absolutely fine. And granted, I think the issue that people face is when they spray foam between the panel and if there's like an upright pillar or something like that. If you get the foam between that and it's obviously expanding and heating up at the same time, I think that's when it can cause issues. If you spray it just on a surface where there's nothing sort of that stops it and forces it to push the panel out, I think you should be fine in that regard. So I hope you found this video interesting in some way, and if you are thinking about going down the spray foam route, hopefully you have got some value out of it. But essentially the two things that I would be very careful of is to make sure that the temperature of the canisters is correct and as per the manufacturer's instructions, and the second is that the surface temperature of where you're spraying it is correct and as per the manufacturer's instructions. So the temperature of the canister should be 25 degrees Celsius, and the temperature surface that you're spraying onto should be 16 degrees Celsius. And that's quite important according to the person that sold me this kit. And I'm pretty sure I got those right before, so I don't know exactly why I've had the problem that I have had with the one going faster than the other. Maybe it just wasn't full enough, or there was a problem, or it had leaked, or I don't know what, but we are where we are. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the performance that I've seen so far. So once I get the next kit, should be good. Obviously, if you have the facility to do this indoors where you can really control the temperature in a workshop or something, then that's first prize. But if you don't, then you've got to get a bit creative with heaters and things like that. And obviously, maybe try and do it in the summer where you are more likely to have the right temperatures. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you got something out of this, and there's plenty more videos to come. I'm going to be putting out a video soon about some really cheap lithium battery cells that I bought, so sort of under $300, and obviously continuing with the build of this van. The next step is to finish off the frame for the bed, and then finish off the insulation, and then we'll get to actually paneling the walls out in here and really making some progress. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.